There's lots of ways to uncover assets, but in my experience, agents struggle having a conversation about money because either A, they don't know how it ties back into Medicare, or B, they're worried it might cost them some type of sale if they ask too many questions. Asking someone about their assets is not going to cost you a sale. It's only going to help you increase your income. Now, I'm going to teach you a way you can tie this back into Medicare. This is an easy way, one, to keep you on track as an agent, but also to keep the client engaged. So I'm going to set this down in front of somebody, and I'm going to say something along the lines of, my job is to help people protect their assets. Your health insurance does not protect your health. You can still get sick, right? Yes. What it does is it protects your assets from unnecessary risk. In order to make the most appropriate recommendation concerning your Medicare options, I need to have a good understanding of your assets. If you're like most people, we can break your assets down into three distinct circles you see here. The first one being your income circle. If you're like most people, you have that income come into some type of checking account, and then you pay your monthly expenses out of that checking account. Is that about how you're set up? Yes, I am. Awesome. And some common forms of income I see in retirement are Social Securities, pensions. Some folks are still working and get a salary, and different investment income. Are you currently taking Social Security? Yes. And do you receive any type of pension? No, I don't. Are you still working part-time? Do you get any type of salary? No. Do you get any type of investment income? No, I don't. Do you take any required minimum distributions out of an IRA? Yes, I do. And do you get any income from any real estate, whether that be rental properties or maybe some farm ground? No, I don't. Okay. And roughly speaking, most people I work with your age get anywhere from $1,200 to about $1,600 a month in Social Security income. Are you about in that same range, or would you say it's a little less or a little more? Oh, it's probably a little bit more. Great. Ballpark figure, what would you say you get each month in Social Security? I get about $1,700. Awesome. And you mentioned you're taking a required minimum distribution. You just take that once a year? Yes, I do. And roughly speaking, what would you say that required minimum distribution is? Oh, it's about $3,500. Great. Now, if we broke that down to monthly, plus your Social Security, your total income would amount to about $2,000 a month. Does that sound right? Yep. And you have that go to some type of checking account? Yes, I do. Awesome. And then if you're like most people, you pay your expenses out of there. Now, after you pay all of your expenses, do you have any money left over each month out of your income? Yeah, I have a little. Roughly speaking, what would you say you have left over each month? Oh, about $400 or $500. Awesome. So does that mean your monthly expenses are about $1,200? Yeah, that sounds about right. Great. Now the second circle here, this would be your emergency or your savings circle. Most financial advisors will recommend that you keep anywhere from 6 to about 12 months of income set aside in the event you have an emergency. For example, your hot water heater goes out, you need new appliances, something along those lines. In your case, that would be anywhere from about $12,000 to $24,000. Are you able to keep about $24,000 set aside in the event of an emergency? Yes, I am. Awesome. Would you say it's right about that amount, or would you say it's substantially more? Oh, it's a little bit more. Ballpark figure the last time you checked, what would you say the current value of your savings account is? Oh, it's about $38,000. Great. Now, the way most of my clients are set up is they keep a checking account, they pay their normal expenses out of there, and then they keep some money in savings about like you. And then if something does come up, some type of emergency or some large expense, they'll transfer the money from their emergency savings over here into their checking account and they'll pay the expenses out of there. Is that about what you do? Yep. And if you're like most people, you like to see a certain balance in your checking account to feel comfortable. So for you, what is the balance you'd like to keep in your checking account to feel comfortable? Oh, it's about 10,000. Great. And would you say that's what the balance is now, or would you say it's a little more or a little less? No, that's about what it is. Awesome. Now, this third circle over here would be known as your nest egg assets. These are the assets you spent your entire lifetime accumulating. Do you currently own a 401k? No, I don't. You mentioned you're taking an RMD, so you own an IRA, correct? Yes, I do. Awesome. What about any mutual funds? Nope. Do you own any CDs at the bank? Yes, my IRA is in a CD. Great. What about any stocks or bonds? Nope, I don't own either of those. And you mentioned you don't get any real estate income, but do you own the house you live in here? Yes, I do. Awesome. And do you own any annuities yet? No. Okay, great. Now you mentioned you're 73, you're taking about $3,500 in an RMD each year. Does that mean your IRA balance is roughly speaking right around 100,000? Yeah, that sounds about right. Great. And you mentioned you own your house. Is it paid for? Yes, it is. If you were to list it tomorrow, what do you think you would list it for? What do you think it's worth? Oh, about 250,000. Awesome. Now, most of my clients have one of three goals for their nest egg assets. One being safety, meaning they never want to lose another dollar due to the market fluctuating. Two being growth, meaning they want to earn a competitive rate of return to at least outpace inflation, so about 3 to 4% a year. And the last one being income to supplement Social Security and liquidity for unexpected expenses and large purchases. So if you could for me with your IRA, what would you say is your number one goal or your number one concern out of these three? Most of the time, retirees will tell you safety. Awesome. And what would you say is your second goal or your second major concern? Probably growth. Great. And that would leave income and liquidity last. Yep. And roughly speaking, what would you say is the current interest rate on that IRA at the bank? Oh, it's about 0.5%. How do you feel about that? 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you they don't like it. All right. Now, if I could show you a way you could maintain the safety you currently have in that IRA, but also gain a competitive rate of return to at least keep up with inflation, would that be important for you? 9 times out of 10, again, they're going to say yes. You're never going to know these things if you don't at least ask them. At this point, those of you comfortable, you'll move on to an annuity presentation more than likely. Those of you that aren't, that's okay. This is still an opportunity to earn income. So what I would say is something along the lines of, I work with a team of financial advisors, and their job is to provide you a free consultation to see if there's any accounts out there that could offer you the same safety you're currently experiencing, but get you a better rate of return. All I need from you is a copy of your most recent statement or to take a look at that certificate, and I can set up that meeting for you. Would you mind grabbing that for me? At this point in time, once you get that information, try to schedule the second appointment right there in the house. And some of you may be wondering, how did you know their account balance was 100,000? Sometimes you'll know if they're taking an RMD because RMDs start at age 72, right around 3.5%. What that means is if they have a $100,000 account, an IRA, once they turn 72, the government wants them to start taking $3,500 a year out of it. All right, because they want to tax them. Now, that amount, that percentage goes up a little bit as they continue to get older. Another way you can find this out, if you don't know, you can go right online, Google required minimum distribution calculator, put in the account balance, put in their age, click calculate, and that's going to tell you the required minimum distribution amount they need to take. In some cases, they're not going to be 73, or maybe they'll have some assets that aren't IRAs, and you're just going to have to ask. An easy way to ask is just to say, roughly speaking, the last time you checked, what was the current balance of that IRA, or what was the current value of your mutual funds? What's the current value of your annuities? That's another way you can ask. I hope this helps. Good luck in the field.